This is gonna be a
Hello.
weird.
Oh.
Sorry. My bad.
Hello, everyone. How you doing? And welcome back to Skye and Evan in the morning. And today we're here to talk about Trainspotting and T2 Trainspotting. How you doing, Evan?
Indeed. I am doing very well, Skye. Weird combo. Let me tell you something. It was interesting watching these like right after each other. I'd meant to watch Trainspotting for so long, but I never got around to it. And even though I'd heard good things, I knew pretty much next to nothing about both of these movies. And it was interesting watching them back to back when it's like
20
the
years
same
apart.
original filmmaker. Yeah, and Danny Boyle directing them after like all this time's passed. It's interesting to see
You can
how
see how he's evolved as a
different he is.
filmmaker, honestly. And it's like, because like
Yeah,
the original has kind of like a raw, gritty nature to it, and the new one kind of has a like more polished, like modern
yeah. There's
filmmaking vibe to it. It's
the
interesting.
especially with the color use, like man, the shots outdoors with the green, like there's so many like shots in like fields where you just get like grassy fields and like there's just such a strong emphasis. Like
It
this shot
reminded
here
me
in
of
T2,
Utopia.
yeah, it really does. It's got like I don't know what it is about like the color of that, but there's something that seems like almost surreal about how sharp the color is and how like again like the grass itself like it's like it seems so insanely green and like then there's such like blue contrast especially with night. Like I love the club scene with when Franco catches oh god how about what is the main character's name?
Renton.
What do they call him? Renton. Yeah, Rent
Mark
Boy. Yeah.
Renton. Yeah.
When he finds Renton in the bathroom, that was one of my favorite shots
It
in
was a
T2. Oh
fucking
my god.
phenomenal
Uh,
shot because you it's so great because you can see the two of them realizing slowly, and Renton is just like cowering, like, "Oh shit, I need to get out of here." It's
honestly
so
don't
good.
know if that was it probably was filmed separately. I genuinely don't know though, but one way or another, like how
I
they
assume so.
sync is so perfect. They're
Yeah.
just like what they like slowly start
Yeah,
realizing
they're like,
slowly
wait
like
a minute.
backing away. They're like, hold on, like that argument, I know it.
Yeah, like I
Yeah,
recognize that cunt. It's great. Uh
yeah. Different stuff, but it's like Danny Boyle's interesting in that regard. I was talking about Steve Jobs before we started the recording, but one of the funniest things about that movie is a choice with the cinematography. He changes film grain or like the I th- yeah, I think it was the film he was using. He had like a different film stock for the stuff from the 80s and then he changed it for the late 80s after that to make it look a little bit crisper. And then the third part of the movie that like the movie's divided into very clear acts. The third act is shot on digital. So the
mm,
movie like the look of the film like it gets sharper and crisper as it progresses and it almost felt like jumping from like the first part of Steve Jobs to the latter bit because it's just kind of like it just looks crisper and sharper and it's even though they still do try to make T2 look, kind of down to earth and dingy, especially with the sets. Like I it
yeah.
it does feel like a sequel to Trainspotting, which I appreciate.
It does, yeah. I mean, it's something they that Danny Boyle had planned since 2003, I think, because he wanted to because there was this both movies are based on books, right? First one came out in 93, and then
Yeah.
there was a sequel called Porno that came out 9 years later, and the
Yeah,
sequel is
is it
based on the sequel, and he wanted to make this
Is it
movie 9
actually
years
based
after.
on the book or
Yeah,
I
it
wasn't
is.
sure about that. I didn't know it was based on a book and I saw the
Yeah.
writer, what is his name? John Hayes or hold on.
I forgot his name. Something Irvin, I
John
think.
Hodge. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Um, he's worked with Danny Boyle a couple of other times, but yeah, like it's based directly on the book.
Yeah.
Is I thought, yeah, and Porno. I guess it is. I'd have to read them. I'm curious, like how much this movie's based on. I think it's like there's a 10-year time jump instead of from
Yeah,
the
it's
books
9
rather
years
than.
because it's the 9-year gap between the books being released. Um,
Hmm.
the obviously the gap is a lot bigger in the movies because the movie was in production limbo for so long that they only ended up making it into in 2016 and it came out in 2017.
I honestly think they bridged the gap pretty well. Like just Frank's in jail, and then Rent Boys, like he's trying to turn his life around, and it.
Well, it
Everyone
is.
is kind of.
Well, it's kind of fascinating because like a big thing about like drug addiction, like in terms of like NA, is they say there's a phrase nothing changes if nothing changes, and it's kind of hilarious how they use these characters and their addictions to show that they haven't changed after 20 years and they're still the the same people they were 20 years ago. The town may have changed but it's still the same, like Edinburgh. Like everything about the like both movies is just showing that these characters they changed but they haven't really changed. So much so that even though he's 20 years sober, Renton, he does take heroin in the sequel. Right after
Yeah,
they mourn the was it Tommy? Tommy is that?
Tommy, yeah. Which I It's interesting. This might largely be about T2 in terms of how we discuss this, but a frustration I had with T2 was that it doesn't have that sense of like a through line of surrounding drugs. Because honestly, for the most part, like drugs don't really factor into T2's plot. It's not really about that. Whereas like in the original movie, it's
Oh
all
yeah, the
about that.
second one
And
is
that's kind of
tangentially related to drugs. Because like
yeah.
I feel like the point of T2 is to be like showing how someone who was an addict wants to relive their youth because they didn't get a chance to experience it properly while they were going through it because they were addicted to drugs, which is kind of the metaphor of train spotting, watching trains go by as you can't like be a part of it.
Yeah.
Which is the feeling that a lot of addicts have of just like always being on drugs and seeing life pass you by but not being a part of life itself. So I kind of like that. It was just like the sense of trying to recapture your youth and having that nostalgia for your youth, but you'd never actually experience it. I mean, he even says, Simon, aka Sick Boy, even says like you're a tourist in your own youth, and I really like that line. Like it's basically that Renton is just trying to recapture his youth because his life didn't work out. Even after he tried to fix his life by stealing the money and moving to Amsterdam. Uh, so he's back to Edinburgh, seeing the same thing this again. So I like that. I mean, I understand it's not as like clearly related to drugs because the first one is a big part of it. It's just
Well,
drugs in general. But I kind of like the connection that they make in general to them being like addicts.
as well as that, like I I appreciate that in bursts, and there's moments where this movie like shines with exactly what you were talking about, that like whole, recapturing your youth, but not being an addict thing. But it doesn't apply to like all the characters, like especially Frank. Like Frank hasn't really changed at all, which
Oh
like,
no, yeah,
I
he's the
that's
same.
part of the point. He's still trying to hang his friend at the end for fucking $16,000. Like he just never let that go. And it's like obviously he went to prison for it, but still, like he's definitely like the villain of the movie, but it's just that doesn't connect as well to like all of the characters, whereas they had something that connected them in the original movie, which was the drugs and like how insane it was. That's why it could be a little bit more random. Like
Yeah,
this movie, like I
I
feel
think
like
that's
it's
fair.
trying to be more introspective. Like the scene that had me dying was No More Catholics Left. Oh my
That
god,
scene is
that
hilarious.
so fucking funny. It starts out and you're wondering if it's gonna be like self-aware cringe and if they're just gonna like fake it till they make it, but it's just so funny when it like that lyric just works and gets the entire crowd going.
And he just keeps
And then
repeating it. He doesn't even try to come up with anything clever. He's just like, yeah, I know, I know this works, and he just keeps repeating. No more Catholics left.
oh my god, amazing stuff. And then yeah, the binging with like all the credit cards they stole. It's amazing.
Yeah, it
That
was
was
hilarious.
good.
Using the same password for all of them, and some of them it didn't work, but it worked for most of them. Like, oh, that's so smart. It's so funny. I really like that.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah,
It's
I think the second one is a bit of a lighter movie in a sense, in terms of just like
definitely.
the characters, because they're past their addiction. Well, most of them, Spud isn't, but like it seems like they're lighter just in general, because they don't have like that sense of like not being connected to reality. But at the same time, they're heavier because they've gone through so much in their life by that point, and they're all kind of fucked.
Well, and just yeah, and just in general, they're a lot older. Like it's like you
Yeah,
can't help but be a little bit less like, immature and just like,
yeah,
drugging yourself around. Like all of like not all of them are necessarily in the best place, but like they're more like approachable, and that's why like this movie seems more introspective because it's not just, balls to the wall the entire time.
yeah. I mean,
But
yeah, one of my favorite lines is when Renton says, "They gave me 30 years, 30 fucking years. If they gave me 2 or 3, I don't know how to pass that away. But 30 years, what am I gonna do with 30 years?" Because of the heart attack that he had, and they put a like a wire or something in his heart. It was just so funny. Like, yeah, Renton as a character, he wouldn't have no clue how to like live the first 30 years to like be sentenced to being alive. I really like that line.
yeah, interesting stuff. I kind of want to do get to the original movie,
Yeah, I
funnily
was gonna
enough, though,
say,
because like
because about the
I-
original. Well, before we get to the original, I have to ask you a question, Evan. Who is your favorite character and why is it Spud?
oh, Spud's amazing. It's a lot of movies have that character that almost seems like a kid, like they have like the emotional complexion, like they're just like a softie, and it's like
Yeah.
that's exactly what Spud is. Just Spud's like
And they
oh
connect
man,
that in
like
the second
how
one
do
with
you?
him writing as well, which is just fascinating.
Yeah.
Like it
Oh
works really well for him as a character. And I like that. She's just like, hey, you should write it just the way you say it, because people are gonna connect with
yeah,
it.
and
And it's like, oh yeah.
and even Frank appreciates that. Like he gets pissed with all the stuff about Renton, but like he's still reading what he did, and he's like, "This is
I don't know,
good."
Frank loves it until he doesn't, until he realizes.
Well, it goes back to being Frank. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
I,
yeah, the original, Evan. What did you want to talk about? Do you have something specific in mind?
I, not specifically, but it's just this. We talked about this a little bit with the thing, but there is this sense watching old movies that you get like. There's a sense of like impressiveness when you like look at something and you just know it's authentic. Like I sent these shots to you last night, but seriously, the bar that's just like painted blood red. And then like in the background, like there's the blue. Like I'm guessing that was a set. Unless that's like a real location. Like if so, they lit that place like insanity, but it just seeing something like this, this was done for real. This was like a real effect. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a sense of that throughout the entire movie with all the insane things that they do, like diving in the toilet. Like
Oh, the diving in the
that's
toilet
just
scene is amazing. It's one of the grossest things I've ever seen, but it is so good.
yeah. Oh my god, that joke as well, like the worst toilet
Toilet
in
in
Scotland.
Scotland.
They have some fun with the subtitles. It's great, but oh, dude, they really they were not kidding when they depicted that. Oh, but wild. Like they must have had some sort of like toilet ramp thing, like that. Maybe they built this like on an elevated set, and then like the underwater shots. Just it's insane how they connected, and it's to kind of give you that sense of like achievement when you're high. Like
Well, yeah, it's that kind of
there's
thing.
this sense of
The movie's insane, but in like a very realistic way because it's trying to show the idea of what it is to be high, like the experience of being high. And a lot of the time, like when he sinks into the ground or the carpet, when
oh
he
that was
overdoses.
one of my favorite effects. I
Yeah.
loved that. Like just the little red patches of carpet on the side. It's just the tiniest little trick of the camera to
Yeah.
make it like seem that little bit more surreal. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's the kind of
that
thing where like that's how, because people who've taken heroin say that like that feeling of like sinking is so it's just very common. Like it happens all the time when you take heroin, and it's just like a way to depict it is like literally sinking into the ground as you're overdosing it. That was really cool.
Yeah, they do a lot of some of the classic tricks with depicting highness, and one of the classics. I mean, they even use it for the end credits in the second movie, but it's the room like going distant, like there being more of like oh god, Renton's room.
Yeah, the
It's
room just keeps going, and then it looks like a train. It's cool.
yep. They do so much though, and it's a very visually impressive movie with how it uses color, but
Hmm.
even more than, because I swear, one of the shots that stood out to me actually, and it's not even that big, but there's the shot of the apartment buildings where you see a plane pass by. And when I was sitting there, I was realizing they must have done that for real. That plane probably wasn't CGI because this was 1996. Like it wouldn't have looked as good.
Hmm.
So they went out of their way to like wait for that plane to come by. Maybe they knew that it would pass between the buildings, but it's just impressive watching that. Like it's again back in the days where you couldn't fake stuff, and you just know what you're watching is authentic.
Yeah, it does give that little sense of like, man, they really achieved this. It's fascinating. Like they had to build the sets to like have the ground sinking into it and everything. Like I do fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, I find the story like really fascinating because I've read a few reviews where people are like, this is what Euphoria wanted to be, and in a sense it kind of is, because it kind
Yeah.
of feels like it's the point of like these this group of people who make each other worse by being friends, and they have this attachment
Well,
to each other, but they're not really friends, but they are, like they're friends because they ought to be, but not because they like actually like each other, and they're like they make each other worse, and that's why at the end of the movie he steals the money and leaves, because like they were never really friends except for Spud, who actually never hurt anyone. He actually feels bad
he
for
gives
him.
him the money. Yeah. That was because again, I sent that to you last night, Sky. Like I, I was like, that was a really good ending. But again, the kind of the point of the movie is exactly what you just described. It's that these people are bad for each other. They're only like the thing that connects them is the drugs, and they're not really good for each other.
Mm-hmm.
So like you're supposed to see that from like taking the drug money as like he'll find a new life and he's better off without them basically. And
Yeah.
that's what's kind of intrinsically weird about T2 Trainspotting. It's just it seems almost antithetical to the theme of the original movie, and it I don't think it ever really justifies like bringing the characters together. Like even though like Renton is like active in that, like he's seeking them out, and obviously goes to Spud first, but like there is something to be said for the original movie having a very clear theme with like
Mm-hmm.
heroin addiction and like that connecting all the characters, and like the end note that they leave the movie on and what you're supposed to take away from that. It's just it's an unnecessary sequel, straight up, in
Oh
spite
yeah.
of
I think
the
it's a
quality.
really good sequel. I just it is unnecessary, but I think it's part of the point that it's unnecessary. Like I was saying, it's like it's a sequel about
Mm,
characters chasing their youth. And so like the point is that they're trying to chase that part of themselves back, but obviously they don't need it in their lives. They don't need um to be to have this these friendships back when they were never really like proper friends. Um so I think it works in the movie's favor, but I understand that it's very unnecessary. I can see both arguments. Like I don't think the movie needed to exist, but it existing I think works well, and it justifies in itself why it exists. Like in a sense of like pointlessness, I guess. The like the point being pointlessness, which we've talked about with other things, that
yeah.
sometimes it doesn't
Well,
work, sometimes it does.
Well, not to mention, like, the original movie is very random and chaotic. Like, it's not necessarily like they were following up to something with, like, a super complex plot. Like,
Yeah.
there almost
I mean,
isn't a
there isn't
plot
a
to the
plot.
original
It's just the
movie.
characters
Yeah.
going through life for a few years and dealing with heroin addiction. Because, like,
Yeah,
you
it's
can't really trace
pretty
the plot because it's just like events happening. And then at the end, when there's finally a plot, it's just the money, the deal they make, and then he
yeah,
steals the money, which is like the last 25 minutes.
it is interesting to think about, honestly. Like, arguably, the first part of the movie is basically, like, Renton trying to go cold turkey, and that obviously does not fucking work out.
Yeah.
And then stuff's kinda random in between because of, like, either withdrawal or highs, and then that's exactly what you said. It's like he the last part of the movie introduces plot, and it's only for the sake of giving Renton an out, so
Yeah.
which that's kind of how life works, doesn't it? Like, life is random, but, like, there are specific things that happen that are almost like the plot of our lives, so
Yeah.
they
There's a
just
specific
include
moment
that
where something
one.
happens, like an opportunity arises, and you take it.
Yeah.
First, there's an opportunity, and then there's a betrayal.
Ah! Da, 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 da.
Yeah,
I'm
I
trying to
think the movie is just like so interesting because it I don't know how to say of like it's not a hopeful movie. It's like a very nihilistic movie, the first one especially. Second one feels a bit more like hopeful nihilism, which we talked about before with like everything ever all at
yeah.
once, that type of thing. And
Well,
what was the
I
other
think it
one that we
comes down
watched that,
to,
that was kind of like that? Maybe
uh
Godzilla minus one. I remember watching a movie and be like, that's like hopeful nihilism, and that's cool. Um,
yeah, it might have been that actually,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
that
but the
I think
first one is so nihilistic. Like the end of the movie is just the character saying, "We all suck. Life sucks, and everyone has their own addictions and ways of dealing with life. Some are just like bit more healthy than others, but like everyone lives life through their own addictions, and it's just like down, such a down note to end the movie on. You know, like him smiling and be like, I fucked over my friends and I'm gonna start a new life and it's gonna be as worthless and empty as everyone else's.
I mean, most of like the reason why I wouldn't necessarily call it nihilistic is just how funny it is, but it like the comedy is generated by the insane situations that the characters get in, like not necessarily like how how well the characters interact, just how insane their lives are and like how insane the process of watching all of it is.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's because let me tell you, this is entertaining. Like when we say
Oh yeah.
nihilistic, like this is the first 10 minutes I was just blown away. It's insane. Like pretty much everything to the to like the pellet gun scene. Like they just keep going and going and going and going. Like I was caught off guard when I realized there was 10 minutes left of the movie because I was like, damn, it doesn't feel like it. It does not waste your time at all.
Yeah, and it's
So
90 minutes long, thankfully. I always love watching older movies. I'm like, oh my god, it's 90 minutes, thank god.
oh yeah, normal length for
Yeah, nowadays a movie would be 3 hours long. Um, but it's hard to think of what to say because it is such a wild movie. Um,
trying to think of a specific like scene, and hilariously, not necessarily any of them are popping out. Like it really is like the macro experience. This one, because
yeah, it's because like
well,
when you watch it, the experience of watching it is like what makes it. It's not just like, oh, it's a well-written story on its own or something like that. It is much more of just like the experience of what the movie's doing for you. This experience
yeah,
of like experiencing what these people who are on drugs are living through and trying to understand that a little bit. Because of course most people won't have been addicted to drugs, so when they're watching it, it's just like trying to understand that experience, but not really, having lived through it, not really relating to it. Because it's like this is going to be a really relatable movie to people. Uh,
yeah. Well, and apparently the author of the book, like he was a
he was
heroin
addicted
addict
to
for 18
heroin,
months,
yeah.
apparently. So yeah, I'm and it when you're watching this movie, there's some screenplays that are like that, where you're just like, this is quasi autobiographical,
I
isn't
always
it? This is
think
just
that
like,
when I watch Mike Flanagan's stuff, there's a lot of times like when he talks about alcoholism
yeah,
or religion, like I'm like, yeah, you're
yeah.
writing this
He's
from
like the
experience.
he usually like inserts characters that like have studied like a bunch of different religions and know
Yeah,
like about different like scriptures, and it's like that's because he's done that personally. Like he
yeah,
likes injecting characters like that. So
yeah,
yeah, I mean,
exactly.
all writers do that. All writers like draw from their own
Hmm.
experiences, but it's just this movie. There's a sense of like authenticity to it all, where you're like, yeah, this is from firsthand experience.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so much so that it's not like a Hollywood movie. It's like set in Edinburgh. It's fucking a bunch of Scottish people. Like it feels like a very specific type of story that actually happened to someone, and they're just kind of sharing their experience.
Yeah, we were touching on it, but like one scene to cling to is the sinking into the carpet. So like this is like a good example of like two scenes basically contrasting, because you have the high, and then he gets taxied to the hospital, and then after that his parents literally lock him in his room, and you get like
The best
withdrawal
scene in the
coming right
movie,
off of
that
that.
fucking withdrawal
Yeah.
scene is amazing. He's him
Oh,
hallucinating the baby,
it's
the creepy
the
ass
baby.
baby, and then his friends all show up in the
Let me
room.
tell you something. I had heard about the crawling baby. I did not realize that it went exorcist head. And seriously, the dead baby, I was like, dude,
That
I'm
was,
stunned they got away with showing that. That was
yeah.
pretty fucking grotesque. I'm like, dude, I I don't know if they had to fight for like an R rating rather than NC-17, but I figured that alone would be enough to push them there. But like and they treat it well. It's just dark. It's like it's unambiguously like the darkest part of this movie,
Yeah.
like showing that baby dead, and when it comes back
It
in
might
his
be one of
fucking
the like
fever dream.
scenes that hits the hardest because it is just like he just says like, "Oh, we realized she was screaming. She may have been screaming for a week. We wouldn't have known." Just
Yeah,
him explaining how insanely high they were all the time, and her screaming, man, it's so visceral, so raw. You're like, it feels real. It feels like she actually did lose a child. And the first thing they do is just
yeah,
like, I'm gonna take a hit, and he takes a hit and gives one to her as well. Like she even asks for it. It's like you don't even know what to do at that point. Like your child died because you're addicted. What else can you do but like numb the pain through your own addiction, the thing that caused that death? It is such a fucking dark and powerful scene. I That scene was like really caught me. Like I was really like
yeah.
just I don't even know how to explain the feeling I was feeling. It was just like it's a hard scene to watch.
Very hard scene. There's always that happens a lot in movies. There's sometimes like a sobering moment where like it stops being fun because of like something big that happens, and that was definitely like one of the key moments in this movie.
Yeah, Better Call
So
Saul has that a lot where it's just like you have that time where you realize that the scheming from Jimmy is actually not fun anymore, that it's actually hurting people. You have those moments with the
mhm.
with the old ladies that he screws over and everything. And this is kind of how it feels like. It's that scene where you realize and it is kind of necessary because a lot of people say that this movie kind of made heroin look fun, but that's kind of the thing. It is fun at first. Every addiction is fun at first, that being addicted to
Yeah.
drugs.
Well,
You always feel good at first, but then it ruins your life. And that
yeah,
is the
Pulp
moment where
Pulp
you realize
Fiction
it ruins your life.
Pulp Fiction did the exact same thing with heroin, actually, and like it's fun. Like you're like, what you want, like drugs to like look exciting in movies, and it's like they kind of should, because it is exciting taking drugs, but then you coming down from that high is kind of the point. They do that with the OD instead of Pulp Fiction, and obviously he's like driving a fucking car when he's high, and it's like there's a sense of like euphoria you want to depict with it, but like
Hmm.
having those sobering moments or showing the effects of not taking drugs, which is what they do in the first
Yeah,
movie.
because if
It's
you want to show it in a way that's accurate, you need to portray it as it is, which is firstly the euphoria, and then you get the things it takes away from you, that addiction takes away from you. So it isn't necessary to show both sides, so that people who are going through it like can relate to it and understand it, and realize the cost that it has on their life. That it starts out fun because I was gonna reference Community, but I don't want to spoil it. There is an episode in Community that kind of talks about this. um they use just
Interesting.
marijuana in it instead of anything too um too dangerous. But when you get
I
to
would like
that,
to say most community college students aren't shooting up, but
no, yeah.
who
Oh,
knows?
most college students, at least here where I live, they are on they
Well,
do
like, of
weed a
course,
lot. Yeah.
yeah, I'm
But
just saying, like, shooting up though, or like doing meth is
yeah,
not
no,
like
no, no.
usually that.
No, yeah.
But
But yeah, no, it's just because there's an episode that talks about this and they portray perfectly like the idea that at first you're gonna love it, and then there's you know, the drugs end up changing even though they didn't change. And yeah, that one scene, it is that. It's just the moment where it changes and it's no longer fun. And it is basically, well, it's that, and then when they get caught, um when they get caught
during
for
the like
for
street
robbing,
chase, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And then Tommy dies, and there's just like, he actually tries to stay clean. um Renton actually tries to stay clean, because I mean, at that point you kind of have to, right? You've gone through so much, you kind of have to try to fix your life. And it is so like darkly tragic, like darkly ironic, I guess, that he moves out to London to like start a new life, and then every one of his friends end up like being part of his life again and like derailing it. Um it, they're the ones who end up making him take heroin again. It's when he's testing to see if the heroin's good. So it's just like he tried to escape it and he couldn't. It's what we're saying, and it's like what Euphoria tries to show as well, especially with Jules and Rue. But just the idea of like someone who isn't good for you, that you may like them, but that they're not, like, they just aren't good for you. They don't help you, and it's that they're showing.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
Season 1 nailed that. Season 2, not so much.
Well, yeah,
Maybe we could talk about that show one day. Hot damn.
I am due a rewatch.
I'm trying to think of other talking points to bounce off of. I love the opening. Seriously, like opening with the Iggy Pop song is fantastic, and it's so funny. The reference. I love Lou Reed as well during the carpet taxi ride. A Perfect Day. Great soundtrack choices,
Yeah.
and that
Oh,
was
the
actually one of my
soundtrack is
favorite.
amazing.
That was one of my favorite jokes in T2 is when he puts on the vinyl and like he stops at like the second Lust for Life starts playing. It's just that's a fun little like anti-nostalgia because there is a lot of that in T2. Like, they have him on the car like windshield and it's like, like he does the face and like there's direct references to the original movie, but I found that one very funny where it's like it's almost like he's starting up like the excitement of the original movie, and then he just takes it off right
Yeah,
away.
it is pretty great.
What did you think about some of the member berries in this movie? Like
Well, like I
I'd
said, I
say
think it's part of the point of the movie, so it didn't bother me. And honestly, because the movie was so much fun to watch, it didn't like I didn't feel like it was taking away from the experience. It wasn't like there wasn't a story besides the member berries. But because like a
yeah.
big part of the point is that the characters are trying to recapture their youth. Seeing a lot of the member berries to the movie that was, their youth makes sense to me. So it didn't bother me. I found it fun.
Yeah, like when they go to the field, I'm not even sure exactly where that was in the original movie, but there's that area with like the little bridge. It's a very
Yeah.
picturesque location. Like they go back to it, and I think it was like to basically remember Tommy,
Yeah, it was.
which I liked that kind of a thing, and I appreciated it. And honestly, there aren't that many. It's not like they're referencing the movie left and right. I did find it funny when they included like direct shots, or like I was saying with the car. It's just one of those like I don't know. And this movie had more to offer than just that, for sure. It's
Yeah.
not a huge blemish. I just did think maybe one too many times. They just kept referencing it, and I'm like, ugh, make your own film, mate.
I don't know. I like that.
Mm.
Like when he smiled at the car, like when he fell from the car, it's like, oh, he's gonna do it, isn't he? And I kind of like it. It's like it's showing that he's kind of enjoying this adrenaline, even
What?
though it's like his life is being put at risk because this kid is insane and he's still like that immature kid that he was 20 years ago.
By the way, like that, they never did address it, but that cut, man, like he slid his arm to hell. Like I don't know if he
Yeah,
went to the
it
hospital.
looked
Like
deeper
I
at first than the movie made it out to be.
this,
Maybe there
yeah,
was like
look
a
at
cut scene or something.
look at the shot. Hold on a second.
It feels like a really deep cut at first, but I guess it wasn't.
Hold on. Look at this shit. That's bad. That's like potentially down to the bone. Like maybe I don't think
Maybe that's
he wasn't
just
high,
if
right? Like that was
um
before they took
no,
heroin, I
that was
think.
after. That was after they took heroin.
What?
Yeah, because
You're right. It
he was at
was.
the club because of heroin.
Yeah, and
Remember?
that's why I went to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Me,
So
I.
yeah, I was gonna say maybe it's just not supposed to be like literal. It's supposed to be like
Yeah.
the way he imagines it because of heroin.
Fair enough if so. It's just when I saw that I'm like, dude, I was wondering if he'd like start bleeding out during the chase, but like
Yeah.
that didn't
Well, it was
happen.
the same
So
thing as Bagby, Frank being like stabbed in the liver. It was like, wait, he's gonna take the thing off him and be fine for the rest of the movie, and he was. I thought at some point he would like start bleeding out or something, but no, he just left the hospital.
yeah, and I did also think it was weird that no one was really like seemingly looking for Frank. Maybe like they wouldn't put the biggest manhunt out for the guy, but like he still did escape from prison, and it was interesting just how like fast and loose he is with like hanging around town and like hanging around his wife and his kid. Like, cause I liked that material. Like it was pretty good stuff. It's just there was that in the back of my head where I'm like, dude, the
Yeah,
cops would be
they would
scoping this
be
place.
all
Like
over that place. Yeah.
yeah, I
Though
good character
to be
material, just a little
fair,
weird.
most of the stuff we see from that is after the chase would have died down because we have like a pretty like I don't know month time jump like a few weeks I don't know like we have a time jump when they start working at the with the brothel and everything and he was laying low and then he talks to Simon. So I think most of what we see would be after the like chase would have like died down, and so I guess he just laid low somewhere else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like the stuff with him and his kid. It was very interesting, and I appreciate him be like realizing that you know what he does isn't good, and his kid is better off without him, and that you're gonna be better off than me and my dad. I was like, yeah, man, that's pretty cool. I like that.
It's interesting that like, he kind of realized that about himself
Yeah.
because he also can't get it up in bed with his wife. So it's like he can't really like, be there for his wife. He can't be there for his son. And it's just like it's like he's frustrated. He just doesn't really know what to do. He doesn't know how to pick up the pieces and like and his family's doing well on their own. So
Yeah.
it's like he doesn't really have a place there. I
Yeah,
I
he doesn't
really
have a
did like
place in
that.
his own
Frank,
family,
they
and it's interesting because it shows a little bit of humanity for Frank, right? Because he's he's
yeah,
basically the villain of the movie, but it shows that he's not like just like pure evil.
yeah. I I was wondering if they would kill Renton there at the end when they were hanging him.
I
I'm like,
literally thought he
Jesus,
would have
is that?
died. I literally thought he had
Yeah,
died, but then Simon shows up. Thank God.
yeah. It's amazing how they pull that together. But there was a moment there where I was like, man, maybe. It's just
Yeah,
yeah. Frank is pretty fucking unhinged throughout this movie, but you still have him talking with Spud and stuff like
yeah,
that. They still he does feel like a person. It's
yeah,
like they don't cartoon villain him. It's just like what I was talking about before, that sense of like him not moving on. He just like that's why he's the villain of this movie because of all the characters. He's the one who like clung on to what happened and won't let it go even after 20 years. So
yeah. I mean, it's like it's $16,000 that could help you a lot. And to be fair, he would have only gotten 4,000 because it would have been divided by 3, so by 4
Yeah.
people. So even that, like, it's not
Well,
that much money, and it's easier to like forgive. But he doesn't forgive because of the betrayal more so than like the money itself. It's just what it represents. It's just betraying a friend.
and he went to jail for it as well.
Well,
So
he
yeah,
would have gone to
I
jail anyway because he was being hunted because of the stuff he did in Edinburgh. So much so that he was hiding out in the um in Renton's apartment in the original.
yeah.
Like, I think the point was that like he, because he didn't have the money, there was like no point in him like trying to escape prison anyway. So that's why he kept destroying the room, and he was just like, "Fuck it, just arrest me." Like, there's nothing I can deal with now. Like, I'm fucked. So yeah,
Hmm.
he's an interesting character. I feel like he has a lot more character in the second film, because in the first one he is
I
just like unhinged guy who
well,
uses.
arguably all the characters do because again, it's just this movie's more
Yeah,
introspective and like
yeah.
it really is trying to be like an exploration of the characters. And this is like that's kind of my general criticism that colors these movies because both of these movies are very random, insane, like very light on the plot. Like they're like experiential and character oriented movies, and I just think it works better in the original movie given like you have that underlying theme of addiction and of like the characters that like the main characters around like not being good for him that like that kind of connects it all because like we were trying to like come up with something to say about like any one given scene or something like that, and it's like it's not really how the movie works. Like the entire movie's built around how insane everything moves on, and I I just am not sure that like what they did with the second movie quite works as well with like delving more into the characters and trying to slow the pacing down. It's longer than the original movie. It just there's something kind of off, even though all things considered, I'd say this is pretty damn good. Like real like for a movie to come out 20 years later, you were mentioning this when you recommended it. Like it is a legacy sequel, and it's funny how well it works
Mhm.
considering like how unique the original movie is. But
Yeah.
I just think what they were going for works just that little bit better in the original.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I give the first movie a higher rating, but I still think both are great. I I feel like the first movie is so like experimental and just like it is not experimental, experiential. I don't know if that word exists, but like it is about the
That's a word.
experience you have. You know what I'm saying? Like the movie is about just the whole package. Is what we were talking about with Legion that Noah Hawley said. You know that it's an
Oh
experience
yeah,
driven show, and I feel like the first movie is an experience driven movie. Second one is just like, let's explore the characters from that experience you had at first to try to understand them a little bit more. And I feel like they offer you different things within the like the same universe. And if you found the first movie's experience to be worthwhile, the second one maybe just gives you a little bit more to chew on in terms of like substance, in terms of like characters and story. Whereas the first one just gives you like, I think, a better movie overall, but one that has like it if it is like more chaotic and so therefore less like tightly constructed, and not in a bad way. It's just like it is so random and so many things happening, and like you don't really get to know these characters. You just get to know the circumstances they're in, which is kind of the point. I get it that
yeah,
the circumstances they're in dictated why they were addicted to heroin and everything like that. So like I think both movies achieve what they were going for well. I just think the first one is like a much more interesting experience when watching it.
for sure. Um, yeah, but I still love them both.
Yeah, I would recommend them both easily.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I'm like, if I were to criticize this like T2 Train Spotting, I would just say like it's just that notch like below the original movie. But again, it's how unique that movie is. Like
Uh-huh.
you can't really recreate it. They couldn't do the same thing, and they did something different. And it just makes for a different kind of movie
Yeah.
from like a director coming back to the same story after 20
Well,
years.
it's
It's still
I think it's important that it's different because we were talking about last week the thing where the
yeah.
prequel is
Like
literally like it's the same story, but 30 years later, there's no point to that movie, and it's the same story told worse. If you're coming back, you shouldn't like tell the same story. It's why like The Force Awakens annoys me so much. Like you should tell something new. Like The Phantom Menace is bad, but it's not telling the same story as A New Hope. You know what I mean? Like it has more value to it, and so
they,
if you're coming back, you should just like actually try to say something different, do something different. And I appreciate that Danny Boyle came back and was like, let's use these same characters to tell a different story. One about nostalgia, one about trying to recapture your youth and the long term effects of addiction. Instead of just trying to retell the same story of like these people are addicted and they're bad for each other. Like it has something different and more to that.
there is something to come back to with this movie, and it's way better than like The Thing in terms of adding to the world and especially the characters. Like if you were starved of that, the original movie, and you wanted like the movie to focus more on the characters, then like this, you might even prefer this to the
Yeah.
original. So
Yeah,
it's it,
it's why I think it's worthwhile to watch both because you get the best of like both worlds. You get one movie that is way more about the
yeah.
experience and one that is way more about the characters. And so, if you really liked what you saw from the characters in the first one, you want to, understand more about them. The second one's for you. So it just works really well together as a double feature. I think it's a worthy sequel. I think it genuinely just like it did pretty well the job it was trying to do. And if you like the first one, the second one is definitely worth checking out. It's not like a cash grabby because you can't even be a cash grabby. It's legacy sequel to Trainspotting. It's such a niche film, like
No.
it's an indie Scottish film made by Channel
By
4. It's hilarious.
by the way, that was another thing that was insane, is looking at the budget, because this was 2017. $18 million, which is insane given how good T2 looks.
Yeah,
But and then the box office,
it was like
42
40.
million.
Yeah,
And yeah, and that is a box office
it
success.
is.
It's
Yeah,
like that's not a bomb. It's just so funny that it's just like every movie is worth at least fucking $80 million nowadays. It's like, Jesus Christ. It's like, it's so refreshing looking back. You're like, oh yeah, movies that are like technically still kind of indie movies just made by competent directors, and it turned a profit. Like I don't think you could make a movie like this nowadays. In fact, it'll be really interesting seeing how well 28 years later does. We'll see about that. I'm curious because Boyle's coming back and he didn't do 28 weeks later, so you never know.
I've actually never seen 28 Days Later. So
Ooh, it's an interesting one. It's like,
I've
do you know about the whole camera thing?
no.
They shot on this piece of shit quality. Like it was like, we're seriously talking like iPhone level. When you watch it, like I have it on Blu-ray, and there's no point. It like looks bad on purpose, and the reason why is there's a scene where Cillian Murphy's character is walking through London, and it's basically deserted. Like there's like no one around, and they shot that for real. They had to shut down like certain areas of London, like they shut down the roads, and they shot at a very specific time in the morning when they could get away with shutting that down to shoot it, and they had to make the most of their time. But
Uh-huh.
that was why they shot on that camera. It was so that they could shoot it and they wouldn't have to deal with all the lighting and making it look good. So it's like it almost is like Dogma films, like
Mm.
with how with just how grounded and like grainy the entire experience is. It's like it's an interesting movie, but it, I'm wondering how well it's gonna be turning it around and what they'll do,
Well, if
because
I imagine it will have like a bigger budget and it'll be a bit more of a like a blockbuster. So we'll see.
yeah, but
Well. So, folks, that was Trainspotting and T2 Trainspotting. We recommend both. Thumbs up. And
Would recommend, yeah, seriously, and go, and man, as someone that is not that went into this blind, like go into it blind. I'm telling you, just
yeah,
let the movie surprise you. I
I
knew
mean,
damn near nothing
say
about
this
both
at
these
the end of
movies.
the episode where we spoiled the entire movie, may not.
Yeah, I get Yeah, like we just spoiled everything. Watch Trainspotting. Don't spoil anything.
We
Oh
probably said
man.
that at the beginning, but it's fine. All right. Well, Evan, what is your recommendation for this week?
I'll keep it simple. The one that I was thinking of before. I am going with Pandora's Box. It is a
Ooh.
silent movie from the 20s. Just bought on Criterion Blu-ray. I've been meaning to check it out forever. And watching Nosferatu, like we didn't have a hell of a lot to say about that movie because it was pretty simplistic. For all I know, Pandora's Box will be similar, though I think it gets a little more like appreciation in terms of like, filmmaking and like thematic interpretation. But I I've been curious to check out some like properly old, like classic, movies from like the 20s and 30s ever since I saw Nosferatu and got back into those. So that is my pick, Pandora's Box.
All right, Pandora's Box then. Interesting. I was not expecting a 1920 movie.
Might There's a lot that I've been looking back on, man. Like ever since I watched that, I was like, man, I need to watch some like really old stuff, like from like before like the studio stuff like took over. Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Well, then we'll be back next week with Pandora's Box, folks. Thank you for watching.
indeed.
Oh boy.
Bye bye.